Hey everybody, Milton Davis here. So tonight we're going to talk about the second story in the Changa Safari series. We're focusing on Changa Safari, the first book. And if you remember previously, we talked about Changa Safari, the Jade Obelisk. So tonight we're going to be talking about, and give me a few minutes to find the page, if I find it at all. See, this is why I should have all this stuff set up in the first place. Okay, but the second, we're going to talk about Kitabu Chapili, which is book 2, which is a certain spice. Now, just to give you a little background on that story, this story takes place about a year after the incidents in the Jade Obelisk. Changa is now established in Sofala. He's doing very well. He's actually doing so well that he's actually commissioned the building of a new ship to add to his fleet. And in the process of doing all this, a strange thing occurs, and it's something that I based on actual history. But this the arrival of a fleet from the Middle Kingdom, the country that we now know as China, and this is based on the voyages of Zheng He, and I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but in my book I use the name Zhen San, kind of give it a little different. So of course the people in Sofala are like amazed by this huge fleet. If you know anything about the history, you know that the Chinese built some huge ships. I mean, some of these ships were massive, and compared to the dhows that Changa was selling across the ocean, they were like miniature in comparison. And so they're fascinated when they see this huge fleet of ships arrive from Asia. And Zheng San is specifically looking for Changa. And once he meets with Changa, he offers him a deal. He said he's found this spice. It's a certain spice that is so amazing that if the two of them could join forces and find this spice, they would become very rich men. And of course, that's what Changa is trying to do at that time. So he volunteers to go on this journey. So that's what the story is all about. That's how the story begins. I'm not going to tell you about the rest of it because it's in the book, and hopefully that you have the book by now and you're reading it. But I do want to talk a little bit about the history behind it. One of the things I wanted to talk about was Zheng He. Now, Zheng He was a merchant, a Chinese merchant. He actually reported directly to the emperors, and he did 7 voyages, I believe, from Asia through the rest of the world. And those voyages reached as far as the east coast of Africa, and he did trading between these particular countries and nations and stuff like that. And of course, I have visual aids. This is a oil painting interpretation of Zheng He's fleet. He had actually 2 different fleets. He had a secondary fleet and a primary fleet. This map here shows a little about it, and you can look these up on Google, so don't worry about following these things like that. This is a map of his voyages. The dark line is for what they say his main fleet was the route that his main fleet took, which came from China to Ceylon up to Hormuz, and then there was a secondary fleet which actually ended up going down the coast of Africa and trading with the Swahili city-states. So this was a monumental thing that happened in this world, and it was all part of this trading that was going across the Indian Ocean that was fueled by the monsoons. That those were the winds that blew from the west to east during certain times of the year and allowed these sailing ships to go back and forth, and which was the basis of all this trade in this area. Now, another thing I want to talk to you about that is part of of a certain spice is. If you read the story about it, if you haven't, you will hear is an area of Asia that's called the Malaccan Straits. Now, I've got a map of it that's like a modern map of it. The Malaccan Strait is actually a body of water that runs between Malaysia and where we see as Indonesia, and it's for thousands of years. It's been a route that people sailing from the east to the west have taken to reach Asia. It's actually the shortest route to get to those areas. The other thing is that the Malaccan Straits have always been known for piracy. Because of the number of ships that are passing through it, it's just a perfect place for pirates to sit and wait, and attack these particular areas and stuff like that. And these pirates were very known for fighting with knives, and they call these knives siwars. And I actually talk about this in the Changa Safari book as well. And even to this day, this is a very heavy area for piracy. If you notice, you might not have seen it on the map, but if you notice, right at the end of Malaysia is the city-state of Singapore. We talk about city-states in East Africa, and there's very few city-states that exist these days. City-states are basically cities that are basically countries in themselves. And all of the cities on the Swahili coast were city-states. They were countries within themselves. These days, we've got very few of them. I think we've got Monaco, and we've got Singapore, and I think there are a few other ones as well. And the issue, I saw an article recently when people were talking about some modern day pirates in that particular area. And oddly enough, a lot of these pirates end up getting paid by insurance companies. They'll basically board a ship. The companies will say, okay, we lost this ship. We need to get our money for it. And then and then the pirates will give the ship back to the people, and they get paid for that. And one of the most humorous things that I saw about this particular, when they were talking to these pirates, this guy was talking to him. He said, well, hey, have y'all ever thought about taking this money that you make or what you get from selling these ships and stuff and investing it so you can retire? And they all looked at him and they burst out laughing. They said, of course not. We're pirates. We don't do that. And so I take the similar attitude with Changa in his book. So those are the two things that I kind of wanted to talk about from a historical standpoint when it comes to a certain spice, is the fact that, I was able to incorporate this monumental event of Zheng He's visit to East Africa. And also, I wanted to talk about the Malaccan Straits, because in the book, that's an area where there's a lot of action involved and something happens in as well. So, hey, basically, that's it. If you haven't read Changa Safari, go out and check it out. The first 3 stories in the adventure are in this book. Also, I am going to be releasing a Changa Safari special edition, which will actually contain the stories, all 4 books combined into one big opus. And in addition to that, there will be a section at the end of it, which will be a gallery of illustrations that have been done of Changa and his crew over the years. So that's something to look out for. Well, it's going to be something special and exclusive to MV Media. It's going to be a limited edition, and all the books are going to be signed by yours truly and all that kind of good stuff. But hey, thank you guys for watching. I hope I was able to share some information with you. Hopefully some things that'll help you go out and encourage you to go out and find out more about this history of the 15th century East Indian coast and stuff like that. And I hope you'll take the time and pick the books up and enjoy them. Y'all take care. Peace.